we're all like doing this delicate dance with AI right now, because it is like, you ever see that Jay-Z gif of him like shaking his head at a concert, but he keeps looking up at the sky because it like feels like it's gonna rain? It's like that. It's like
all right.
it's like this is dope. This is dope, but it might not be in a second though.
Yeah. And welcome back to AI for Good. I'm Dylan Bose. I'm here as always with Sam Wheatley. And this week we're joined by a very, very special guest, a friend of mine, and award-winning artist, songwriter, producer, singer, rapper, JDP.
What's up, guys?
What's up, man? So JDP and I have worked together a few times on, well, a lot of times together on a bunch of different projects. But we were reconnecting over a song that we had made a while ago that just came out recently called Kingdom. And I was like, yeah, me too. And I was like, man, I think JDP is totally into AI art. And, you know, Sam and I have been doing this podcast. And so we thought it would be awesome to bring you on and just chat a little bit about what that has been like for you. And and like basically question number one is, how did you get into AI art? And where do you want to go from there?
So I would say I've kind of always been looking for like technological advances or whatever the future is in music. Like I was really invested and curious about NFTs when that was like a huge thing for like 3 months. And I had a couple of songs on chain, and I actually dropped a music video exclusively as a NFT. And around that same time, I feel like that's also like the early sparks of when like AI started to really be a conversation. And so I was just really curious as to what that looked like. And I've always been like a big visual guy. Like I think visuals are just as important to delivering the music and how people perceive it. And so I was really curious about like the visual aspects of AI and what you could like make in that realm, the possibilities of it. I mean, the early stuff looked terrible, but as we see now, it's like, you know, it's kind of crazy what you can make now.
It's always like right now is the worst it will ever be. Right. And so you just kind of just accept that, and it's like tomorrow it's going to be a little bit better. And then, yeah. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about like, okay, so you're an artist, you've been interested in sort of like the next generation of what's happening with technology and in your music too. Like, you know, people, when they go and click your links, they'll find out that like sonically, musically, you are sort of uncategorizable in some ways. And so you're always like blending genres and that kind of thing. So what is like your process for coming up with ways of using AI for your art? Like, is it for album covers? Is it for videos? And then like, yeah, tell me a little bit about, or you can like use a recent example, coming up with concepts, like anything like that.
Yeah. So for me, definitely more visually. I've been using it for cover art, like going on Midjourney and designing things. Like being a writer, I feel like being able to prompt out your ideas, essentially just pull them out. And like I feel like that's an amazing tool. And then once like Luma and Runway and all of these other ones started really getting up and running, how you're able to animate the images, it just made sense for like, okay, this is going to be great for like cover art if I don't have original art, which I still go to first. But if that's not an option, using
Hmm.
it for cover art has been really dope. And then using it as like for visualizers, because when we're past the
Hmm.
point of where every song needs a music video, we don't ingest art like that. Um, a lot of times, especially on TikTok or something, a lot of times you're like, people just need like a clip of a song, something engaging. Um, and so
Hmm.
I found it's like really good for that. It's like I can create like these little short, interesting clips with AI and put the music, put original music behind it. And that, like I did, I was doing like these like 8-bit loops
Cool.
for the past couple of releases, even for Kingdom. I did like an 8
Cool.
bit like loop visualizer thing. And that, has gotten as much love and notice as like the records themselves. Like a lot of people have commented, oh, I really like these visualizers that you've been putting out with the songs. So that aspect of it, I've storyboarded out like, a couple like short story or maybe like a mock ad ideas just to like expand and test the form a little more. But for music, um,
Cool.
yeah, but for music, it's mostly been like visualizers, cover art.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it like part of, I think the benefit of it too, like what I'm hearing you say is that, if you're a musician, you have to also be a video creator and like a personality online and all of these things. And so, but using these tools lets you do it like kind of inexpensively and quickly. But more than that, like it sort of lets you, tap into your creativity in a different way that like can accompany the music part.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely these days have to be, um, which has pros and cons, but you definitely have to, you can't just be like the mysterious artist in the background that only does
I
music
know.
anymore. You have to be a content creator. And so you have to have
Yeah.
these pieces to go along with the music. And AI has given tools that make that a little easier, allows you to create more different things like visually to add to it. Like the rollout for these past songs, I kind of did like a experiment where I put out a song a week for 3 weeks.
Mm,
And yeah, and instead of doing like a month long or 2 month long
right.
promo,
A
like I
whole
was trying to do
thing.
the whole thing, I was just like, well, let's see how
Yeah.
people feel if it's just like boom, boom, boom. Like, so I would put out the song. I would put out maybe a digital mood board of like these are some like clips from movies or like books or something that inspired the song.
That's cool.
Here's what the cover art looks like, and I would do this like this thing this day, this thing that day. Here's what the cover art looks like. Here's an actual video of me like performing the song. Here's the
Mm-hmm.
visualizer piece for it that I made. Here's like things that inspire. Like you're able to like expand that rollout and make more little pieces of content. Um, that's more interesting than just sitting in front of the camera and performing. People still value that.
Mm-hmm.
I think people still love that. And as we go further down the AI rabbit hole, organic things are going to be valued more. But um,
Hmm.
yeah, just being able, it definitely helps being able to like create more content, more creative pieces to go along with whatever your main project is.
Yeah, JDP, one of the things we've seen from our side is just the ability for one person or a small team to have a lot more product and
Right.
do a lot of things at once, which sounds similar to what you're saying. Like one artist is able to sort of produce a lot of content in various areas that otherwise might have taken a lot of your time and effort, right?
Yeah, it would have. I mean, all that stuff is worth the investment. But if you're trying to do something quicker, and it's still creativity is
Yeah.
still your idea that you have to put out
Yeah,
there, and you have
absolutely.
to work with the AI and word it a certain way. But yeah, the cover art would have taken me longer. Waiting on somebody to come up with the visualizer might have taken me longer. It might not have been and not to say that AI gets it exactly right, but it might not have been what I had in mind. So it's definitely like alleviated some of that. Like I could take it further if I wanted to, but like I'm not at the point where like Suno and all that. Like I'm not a huge fan of using AI directly in the music making process. But I do see it as a tool for like pitching or something like that. Is something that I've thought about. Like I've cut a couple records and used AI vocals to enhance the imagination for the people listening to the song. Be like, all right, imagine what it would sound like with this artist singing it. But in terms of like having it involved directly in the process, I don't know. I'm a rapper. I still believe in like only you are supposed to write like the lyrics, you know?
Well, that's funny because that was going to be my next question is like, I feel like I will hear musicians use like Midjourney for visuals, and then like people who make visual art will use like AI music to accompany their art or something. So it's almost like we have this like instinct to like protect what we do and then use the tools to, and the same thing like we're fine with work is like every now and then when we're sort of talking with our coworkers and, talking about using AI tools in their own job, there can be a little bit of like, well, but I do that, and so it's interesting that you have like a little bit of that sense of like, all right, music, no, I can do music, but like I'm going to use the tools to make my
it's like music. Yeah. That's what I do. I can do that part. And like, and it is a useful tool for some, like sometimes I'll go, to, instead of doing Rhyme Zone, I'll go to ChatGPT and say like, what rhymes with this word? Cool. But yeah, I do feel like it's interesting that way because graphic artists, I've talked to graphic artist friends and they're like, Midjourney, like they feel some type of way about it, but
get out of here. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, they'll use Sono or something for or Suno for the music behind instead of contacting somebody to make it. We're just really that way about our own individual art, and like we're all like doing this delicate dance with AI right now because it is like, you ever see that Jay-Z gif of him like shaking his head at a concert, but he keeps looking up at the sky because it like feels like it's gonna rain. It's like that. It's like all right. It's like this is dope. This is dope, but it might not be in a second though. We're all doing this delicate dance, and nobody wants to be like like AI across the board, but we are finding useful ways to use it. I also compare it to like when autotune was like a new thing. And like, I remember when autotune came out, people made songs about how like, we should never use autotune. Autotune is terrible for music and singers. And now you turn on the radio and like, I don't hear a single song without the use of autotune. So I'm curious to see what the future holds for like music creativity and creativity in general in that way. Like how much will AI be a part of the process for all the mediums?
Yep.
Let me ask you a question, JDP. This is another thing we've sort of hit upon as well in our own work and then talking with other artists is that do you see AI as cutting out that essential part of learning? Like, when you're coming up, you have to learn how to do things on your own. But AI sort of lets you leapfrog into a level of expertise pretty quickly.
Yeah, I do feel, part of me does feel like that's one of the effects. It does like kind of, like I didn't have to learn Adobe Photoshop in order to create some of the cover art that I've been able to make.
Right.
Whereas like, I would have had to study to do that or pay somebody to come up with that. So it does kind of leap over the mastery of the craft, which is, I think, why people feel that way about it, because it's like, yo, I put in 10,000 hours to be this
Yeah.
good, you know, and now you're coming, like
Yeah.
you're just typing in a good paragraph and it's spitting out, you know,
I know.
something. And similar to like
But then,
us, like
yeah,
music is, you know, it's like, man, I put in a lifetime to be like this, you know, a good of a writer. You go to ChatGPT. You know, ChatGPT isn't there yet, in my opinion. But you know,
Yeah.
you go in, you type in a little prompt or something, and it spits it out, and now you got a song. So I do feel in that aspect, but I also, the other part of me is just like, well, that's just like a new skill that like like generations in the future are going to be like, well, why would I have
Yeah.
to do that when like I mastered prompt writing or I mastered,
right.
so that's a new skill that, down the line is going to be valued, but it does feel like it like kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It kind of like it diminishes the, if that's your expertise and like suddenly AI is making it so anybody can come in and do that, and like that,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
automatically feel some type of way about it. Now, it might not be as good as what you do. It might not be as specific, but it does feel like it kind of leapfrogs learning. And because of that, it like diminishes the value of the thing, because like the value comes from the amount of time that you had to put in to like
Mm-hmm.
master it. That's why people pay you, because it's like, yo, he spent that much time on that. I got to pay him what he's worth. And so if it
Yeah.
takes away from that experience or something, then you start worrying about, well, will people think I'm worth that much down the line?
Mhm.
Totally. I mean, you're hitting on some like a huge part of this, which is like, how do you assign value to the art that you make? And for sure, like we were just watching this video that Runway put out. That was like a conversation between two artists, and they were saying like, I can't shake the feeling that the more time I spent on something, like the better it is, or whatever, like he was saying.
Yeah.
And like, so the fact that AI can gives you such a shortcut there.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that's just like, it's just either a human thing or it's just going to take a long time for us to shake that.
But on the other side, Dylan, like maybe it's going to accelerate the top end. Like
Yeah.
maybe we're only at 20% of our capacity,
Yeah.
and AI starts us at higher up the chain. And then we're able to iterate and innovate and try new things so that we're actually performing. The artists of the future, whatever the field they're in, will be performing at a much higher level than we currently are.
Totally.
That's
I don't know.
that's that's definitely, yeah. I don't know. That's definitely part of it. Is like, because if you are, say you did put in 10,000 hours to learn your craft. If you're a graphic designer, again, say you put in that much time and you went to school and you mastered like Adobe and Photoshop and all that stuff, plus AI, like
Right.
if you embrace AI and like use that as a tool
Yeah.
and bring that in to your work, then you're already like so far ahead of the
Mm-hmm.
people that are still like, nah, I'm not gonna mess with it. Um,
Yeah.
it could very well be the top end. The productivity goes sky high. Like, again, as a being able to being cool with making the music. Like, I'm good with the music. Being able to be like, okay, well, now I can do my own cover art. I can do my own
Mhm.
like visual pieces. Eventually, like, I'll be able to make my own like large scale like music videos.
Yeah.
Um, that self containment and being able to do so much more than I was able to do 10 years ago. I mean, that puts
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
me steps ahead of other artists.
Yeah.
So that is something to consider. Like, yeah, maybe it'll just accelerate the top end of artists, but it also like makes the barrier to entry like so much lower.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, the value of the thing goes down.
Mm.
That's how I feel music is right now, even before AI
Yeah.
hit.
You and I have made music together many, many times. And like, I would bring my laptop into the studio and plug it into the speakers. And, I spent whatever, $700 on Ableton, and we didn't have to rent out a $100,000 studio and hire musicians to play trumpets, and everything. And we could write a song. We're write and produce a song in 3 hours or something. So this is like before AI, before generative AI, whatever.
Yeah.
And so we were already benefiting from technological tools that made the creation of art much easier. So like we were already in a way like habituated to that. At least I was. Like, I'm not classically trained in music. I can't read music. So, Sam, you're talking about the learning phase. Like I skipped right by that too. And I benefited from the democratization of music creation. So
yeah, and like similar, definitely been being able to go to a random like just a room with speakers and plugging in your laptop and being able to do what 20 years ago we would have had to rent out a huge studio for.
Yeah.
That definitely, like, I've benefited from that as well, and more than likely, and I've benefited from the advent of AI, from like the creation of it so far, and it has been incredibly useful. It's just the flip side of the coin of what that means, but that's something we deal with every technological advancement as artists, man. And like, but and also seeing like how last summer the strikes and everything in Hollywood with the writer strikes was partly because writers are worried about the writers are worried about what AI means for their jobs. The problem comes with the people in power, the people in positions to cut the checks, and how they typically feel about the creative side of the building. And how it's like, it's like, well, we can cut a few of those heads and we can put that in a chat GPT and we've eliminated, or music or labels being like, man, well, what if we make our own artists?
I know.
It's like that. It's because that's definitely possible too. Those are conversations that I've had with a couple of producer friends about like, man, what if we do like a guerrilla style thing where where it's like we can create a character in Mid-Journey, we can animate them, and like we can do like you can do a lot now on that side of things. So it's like the problem comes with the financial part of the building, feeling like with the advent of AI, they don't need the creative part as much. Whereas like suddenly that guy is like, well, man, I can just write the script idea in Chat GPT. I don't really need writers coming in and poking at ideas and requesting this in the budget and da da da. Like, so they're thinking about how to streamline things too, but their version of that is like cutting creative.
Yeah.
But again, there's always the flip side as well, JDP, because like somebody in their basement can actually produce a full size, movie. Like imagine if these tools were available to Steven Spielberg as a kid.
True.
What is there a little Steven Spielberg out there making something on their laptop or iPhone right now that's going to rival what a studio could produce?
Oh,
and so you cut out the whole means of production. And so those guys that are cutting the checks are also cutting off their own supply line.
Yeah.
There's 100% like a kid right now who's like going to be like native to AI, like growing up with that already, like as part of the world, and how they use it versus us discovering it is going to be like, there's a little Spielberg somewhere right now, like going to make a whole movie off of AI, and it'll be, and that will be a game changer when that happens. I feel like we're really close. I feel like that's coming, and like when it goes that way, then those guys, then the people cutting the checks will be like, oh, we gotta invest in this kid, like more artists, more creatives that are making like movies and AI, like that'll be the way it goes, like ringtone songs, or you know what I'm saying, or yeah. It's like we gotta hop on this thing,
Right. But that's where like you're an artist is always driving things forward no matter what the tools are. And so, you know, that's probably why somebody like you is like, you know, was interested in it from the beginning and is always poking around and seeing what's possible, because like that is what I guess what it means to be an artist, is to like explore and push boundaries and just make stuff. And so you're almost like yeah, like that's no matter what the economics are or what other people around are saying about it, it's like I can't not try this. Like I got that's kind of like the feeling I had.
I agree with that. I was just like, man, I can't not like mess around with it and see like what's possible. I'm like, you know, we're storytellers. It's like, man, I can tell a story in a way that I wasn't able to before. I got to at least mess around and see, because like it or not, this is the way the world is going. Google, Apple, Microsoft, all of them have heavily invested in like this is the way the world is going. Like it or not, we have to familiarize ourselves with these tools and how we're able to use them creatively. But it is to go back to the Spielberg thing, like that kid making that movie in the past would have had some friends that, you know, one of his friends wants to be a cameraman in the future. One of his friends knows how to write a script. One of his friends, like one of his, you know, would hold the boom mic. There's like those people are going to be lost in the shuffle, because now that kid can do all that himself. So on the one hand, that's great for creativity, and like we'll definitely discover new talent, and people will be able to make things that weren't possible before. But because those tools eliminate a lot of the, you know, the people that helped put those pieces together, that's something to consider too. Because it's like, you know, going in, if an artist wanted a song, they got to hit Dylan to come and make the beat. They got to contact me to come in, you know, to write the lyrics. They got to get an engineer to sit with them in the studio, or get a contact a guitarist. Like that's a whole industry of creatives. Now, you know, you don't necessarily need that, especially if you can't afford it. To like bring all those pieces together.
Totally.
So the industry around the thing is the part that I worry about.
But, you know, part of the artistic impulse is always collaboration. Like, I don't think, I'm just wondering, like, the best products of artistic endeavor are always going to need some sort of collaboration. Like, I'm just wondering here, like, you're identifying like this collaborative process that got us to the place we're at now. I'm just wondering, I can't imagine what the future collaboration looks like. Like I still like, even in this AI project that Dylan and I are working on, we're reaching out, we're trying to build ties, we're learning from other people. It's not a solo project.
Yeah. But there are still like our tours, you know, people that are able to do stuff like without necessarily collaborating. And I'm not saying it's going to eliminate that altogether, but it does drastically drop down the need to. Like a lot of people are going to be like, I'm good, I can do this whole thing, you know, myself. And that's a selling point. When you go in the room on who did you work with on this? Oh no, I made this whole movie like myself, you know. I'm like, it's not going to get rid of collaboration. I feel like in the arts, there's always going to be a part that wants to work with other people on building things. But I do feel like it is going to like drastically drop down the need for people to do it. And future generations might not look at it the same way, because we came up we came up knowing that we need people like in order to achieve these goals and dreams, that these ideas that we have to work together on them. Maybe a future generation is like, well, no, why would why would I need to, do that when I can just do most of it myself? But there's always going to be people that are better at certain things than others as well. And like, if you're trying to work on something quality, maybe still down the line, you're still like, yeah, we need these AI tools, but this guy is like the best, like mid-journey prompter that like I know. This guy is the best runway like generator that I know. This guy's like, there's still going to be people that are better at certain tools than other. So collaboration will still be a thing, but it'll definitely look different.
And we'll have to come up with like, what is that job? Like you said, mid-journey prompter. Like, we have to be something cooler than prompter. Like that is not rock and roll at all.
Right now, it's just prompt engineer. All that is like mid-journey prompt engineer or something.
Mid-journer, yeah.
Mid-journer.
So last question. Last question is, like, where do you see is there something that you've seen that's like coming down the road that's super exciting, or where do you hope things will go? If you could like wave a wand and you could have certain tools be like way better, what do you think is coming up next, or where would you like to see it go next?
I mean, there's like, you guys know Kling, like Kling AI.
No, I've not heard of it.
It's similar to Runway. That visual engine is crazy. It's like a step up.
Cool.
So there's more of those coming down the pike, and I'm more excited about those and seeing what the possibility is to make something. I mean, I've talked about doing like my own like shorts, like animations, like short story animations or something like that, creating like a series, or like those tools coming down the line. I'm excited about. I do want to see more. Like, I loved the fact that all the creatives did a strike last year to make sure that, to get some type of protections. I do want to see more like laws passed about, for AI, for those type of protections for creatives. Like, I'm not opposed to AI being involved. I just want to make sure that the powers don't like, all right, well, we don't need you guys
take
anymore.
Advantage of people. Yeah.
So that's something I want to see discussed more in the future. But I'm really excited to see where all these visual, like, the runways go and the Lumas go, and all these, because they like you said, this is the worst it's gonna be. But 2 years ago, was it 2 years ago? Maybe was it last year? When was NFTs big? Was that 22?
2 years ago, I think.
2 years.
2.5. Yeah.
Yeah, like 2.5 years ago, I made a music video using. This is when you had to open like Google Collab or something. Like, I made an AI video 2 years ago that looked terrible.
Was it like Will Smith eating spaghetti level, or was it better than that?
It was like it was worse than that. Maybe it was like it was that. It was like Will Smith eating spaghetti level. And it actually wasn't even. It was just the AI generated like clips to the lyrics, and it was like clips. It was almost more of a slideshow, than an actual like moving thing. And now I'm seeing stuff that, if you're not careful, if you don't look twice, you might mistake it for like real. You might mistake it for a real thing. So I'm both. Like I said, I'm Jay-Z in the rain. I'm excited. I'm both excited and worried about where that'll go.
I think you gave us our title for this episode.
Jay-Z in the rain.
Jay-Z in the rain. Well, thanks so much, man, for coming on. Like, we super appreciate it. We'll have you back on a year from now, and we can laugh at what we made around this time, or we'll
just have our avatars create your avatar and they'll talk and
they'll
then
talk.
let us know.
Yeah, we'll set up the AI chat bot and they'll bounce back and forth. But no, it's, thanks for inviting me. This was a good conversation for sure.
Yeah, thanks JDP. That was awesome.
Thanks, man.
For sure, guys.